Hello and welcome to Reading with Mo. Today we are going to be talking about the books that I got to in the month of May. I altogether have 8 different books I want to talk to you guys about. I did not complete all of them. There was one DNF for last month. There's a lot of books I wanted to get to, I just did not as usual, but I am not hugely disappointed with what I was able to get to. So let's just get the one DNF out of the way first, I guess, and that was a nonfiction book, and I don't feel bad about it because it's just a random book I picked up from Goodwill that kind of sounded interesting. I bought for a few bucks, and that was Heretics and Heroes: How Renaissance Artists and Reformation Priests Created Our World by Thomas Cahill. This book I tried on audiobook and I tried reading it physically, and I think it's just one of those books where everything was just going over my head. I don't have the background knowledge to really understand a lot of what was going on, and this altogether just read for someone who is on a different intelligence level than me, I believe, as in higher, because a lot of this I was just like, when it comes to like philosophy or I don't know, just the topics it was talking about, it just was not written in a way that was very accessible to my education level. So this book I am not going to be continuing with because I felt like it was just going in one ear out the other. It was doing nothing for me. So there are 4 other books that I was able to get to that I have physical copies of, and then 3 books that I read that were audiobooks. So let's go into my physical books first. So I continued on with the Tawny Man trilogy, book 2, The Golden Fool by Robin Hobb, in the Realm of the Elderling series, which is an adult fantasy series. These books are quite lengthy, and this one was like, 600 pages, so they do take a while to get through, but there's just something about Robin Hobb's writing that I find very comforting, and I know it's going to take me a while to get through, and I just like to settle in and go along for the ride. Things are kind of slow, not a lot of stuff happens, and we're, especially with being back following Fitz's storyline, just being in his head, following this one character and the things that are going on. Obviously no spoilers there, but overall I did enjoy this book and I gave it 4 stars, and I'm currently reading the 3rd book of the final book in the trilogy right now, so I'll update you guys on that once I finish that one. And so I decided that because I was not really finishing as many books as I was wanting to last month, I was going to try and read some short books to motivate me, but these short books kind of took just as long. It felt like as long books to get through. I don't know why. So the first one we have is The Chrysalids by John Wyndham. This book is a science fiction book. It's not the first one. This is the second one by this author that I read. The other one I read was The Midwich Cuckoos, which I enjoyed as well. This book is a nuclear apocalypse story. We're following this society of people, and anybody who has genetic mutations is basically banned from their society. They are trying to keep their human species pure, so anyone who has any sort of mutation is kicked out. The main perspective that we're following is his name was David, and him and his group of friends, they actually have this mutation where it allows them basically like telekinesis, where they, I think is a thing, right, where you can like communicate with other people with your mind. So it's very dangerous for them, because if they're to be found out, then they will all be killed or punished or whatever. And David's father is actually like the one who's kind of running their community. Eventually they have to decide if they're going to flee and try to find a better place where they can live, or if they're going to risk staying and be caught, because eventually someone may find out this ability that they all share. Books like this really make me want to read more science fiction novels, because this is a genre that I just truly do love. And this one, I think, I can't remember if I said I gave this one 4 stars. And I know at least one other book on my shelves by this author that I'm hoping to get to soon. Next we have Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami. Actually, this book and a few of the others were books that I had pulled from my green bookshelf tour. If you guys seen that video up last month, I was able to get to a few of them on there, and this was one of them, Strange Weather in Tokyo. This book, though it's pretty short, like I was mentioning before, like this is less than 200 pages. It took me so long to get through, and I gave this one 2 stars because it was a bit of a disappointment to me, a bit of a letdown. There were a lot of things I found boring in this book, and I probably should have just DNF'd it because I just knew it was not really the book for me, but it was so short I just kind of pushed through. So in this book we are following our main character. Her name is Tsukiko. She's about 38 years old and she lives on her own. She ends up running into and forming this relationship with one of her former teachers. His name, who goes by Sensei in the novel. He is a retired widow, and I don't know, just like that whole trope is never one that's really interested me, and it still can give you the ick a little bit. So just that off of the bat was something that really didn't interest me, which I guess I should have just figured out from reading the synopsis on the back. But I was still interested to see what the author did with the topic, and altogether it was, like I said, just a little bit boring. Like nothing really was really keeping me interested and really caring about what happened with the characters. I think overall this author I probably just shouldn't continue to pick up, which is sad to say because this is actually my second book from this author. I read the other one was called The Record of a Night Too Brief, and I gave that one 2 stars as well. I know I have a few other books, not that I own, but that are just on my like Goodreads TBR by this author, and so if I do ever decide to pick up anything from this author again in the future, I will probably just check out like an ebook or something from my library so that I'm not spending money on something that I'm most likely not going to enjoy. And lastly, for the physical books that I want to talk to you guys about, we have Mrs. England by Stacey Halls. This book is a historical fiction book, I guess is the category you would put this in. This book is set in West Yorkshire in 1904, and it's supposed to be, well, it's kind of described as having like gothic atmospheric vibes, which I am always all about, and I do feel like this book delivered in that end. Overall I gave this story 3 stars. I enjoyed it and I don't regret reading it, but I don't think it's something that I'm really going to reach for again or really find super memorable to be recommending a lot, but I am glad that I got to it. So what this book is about is we're following this young woman, and she is being taken on as like a governess or nanny or whatever, a nurse, her name is Ruby, for this wealthy couple who live in England to look after their, I believe they had like 3 children. And when she gets there in her position, things just don't seem right. Like things seem a little bit off with the mistress of the house. The mystery kind of is that we know something is wrong and we don't know exactly what it could be, but it's definitely seeming like something is wrong with the mistress. So we're going through these like experiencing these weird situations going on with that in the house, which I feel like that could have been pushed a little bit more. Something that we really felt more dread as we were reading the book. At the same time, when Ruby is communicating and dealing with her own family herself, we can sense that there is something there that's hidden that we don't know about Ruby's past, the nurse, as well. So they kind of have like that secondary mystery going on as well, where you're trying to figure out her back home family dynamics and what led her to go on to become a nurse in the first place. Overall, I feel like the writing was very readable. It was a super nice, easy read. It didn't really take too much brain power or anything to get through, but like I said, it just wasn't super memorable for me, so that is why I'm giving this 3 stars. Then on to the final 3 books, which were all audiobooks that I checked out through my Libby app. I think all 3 of them were pretty new releases. Okay, the first one is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this mystery thriller book, and we are following the perspective of our main character. Her name is Jessica Miller, and she's going back to her university for the 10-year reunion with everyone, and we know that so we have like kind of dual timelines where something went down back when they were in school, and there was an unsolved murder that happened. When she's coming back to this university, her life is now like together and she feels like everything's perfect, and she really wants to put on this persona of her having this perfect life to show off to all of her old classmates. So we're getting flashbacks from the events that led up to the murder of one of the friends in this friend group, which there were about 7 of them, and I believe they already let you know in the beginning who it was, but they suspected it was that person's boyfriend, but altogether it's still an unsolved murder. And then we're also getting the perspective of Jessica attending this reunion and how the night is progressing. I really enjoyed this thriller, and I feel like it was a very well told, and I was definitely like the audiobook kept my attention. And I feel like lately I've just been very let down by a lot of books in the whole mystery thriller genre. I don't know if it's just that I've read too many of them, or just I'm kind of gotten used to most of the tropes that kind of show up between different books, books like this in this type of genre. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. If you are into mystery thriller books, this is one that I would recommend to you. Next, we have also another book in the mystery thriller category, and that is Insomnia by Sarah Pinborough, who, if you are someone who reads books in this genre, you may be familiar with her other book, which is pretty controversial. They also made it into a Netflix show, and that's called Behind Her Eyes. So in this one, Insomnia, I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was a good book. It definitely kept my attention, but altogether it wasn't like super memorable, but I did enjoy my time reading it, and it was very entertaining while I was listening to it. It was a very quick read for sure. I think I gave this one kind of more in between, like a 3 and 4 star. I just don't feel like I could give it all the way a 4-star rating. We are following our main character. Her name is Emma, and like this title would suggest, she is dealing with insomnia. Because of things that went down with her mother in her past, she is worried that she is slowly losing her mind. At this point in her life, like, she has a great husband, her career is set, she has multiple kids that she loves, but once this insomnia is setting in, she is afraid that the past is repeating with the stuff that went down with her mother, and that something bad is going to happen. So apparently when Emma and her sister were growing up, on her mom's 40th birthday, she basically went insane. This story definitely had an interesting ending. Obviously I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything, but I do feel like Sarah Pinborough definitely likes to give unexpected endings, I should say, and that's all I'm going to say for it. But yeah, if you feel like that's something you wanted to check out, like I feel like if you liked Behind Her Eyes, then you probably would enjoy this one. The way the ending is, it's not necessarily something you would easily predict, and yeah, that's all I can say about it, I guess. And then the last book that I want to talk to you guys about is Funny You Should Ask by Elissa Sussman. I don't really read a lot of books in this category, which is kind of a contemporary, strictly like contemporary, even I would say almost like contemporary romance. I gave this one 3 stars though. It actually entertained me more than I thought. Like, I know I included this book on my most anticipated releases for this year, but mainly because I really love the cover, and the premise did sound interesting, but I was a little bit hesitant going into it. But I am glad that I read this book, because while it's not something I typically read, it was very entertaining, and it kept my attention the whole time, which with audiobooks definitely is something that can be hit or miss. So solid 3-star rating for this book for me. This is another book that is told in dual timelines. We're following our main character, who is a journalist, and back in the day when she was first starting out on her journalistic career, she ends up writing this piece on this really famous actor guy, and it basically makes her career and starts off her career. So she has a very successful career after that. So 10 years later, they are wanting her to recreate this interview. So she ended up spending this whole weekend with this actor, and she writes about it afterwards and everything, and a lot of people suspect that something more happened between her and the actor than what she wrote in the article. And so we're finding out as we're reading in the present timeline and in the past if that was true or not, and what exactly happened that weekend, because even 10 years later, whenever she's doing interviews, people always ask her the same questions that have to do with this actor. So I thought it was definitely very interesting, cute, entertaining, just a very lighthearted read, something that I didn't really have to use too much brain power to follow along with. It was very easy to listen to. This is something I could 100% for sure see being adapted into a movie, and I already have like ideas of actors and actresses that I would cast in these roles. But yeah, so yeah, if they made this into a movie, I would definitely watch it, because it kind of has that whole semi-lighthearted rom-com vibe to it. If you are someone who reads a lot of contemporary books, romance books, general fiction like that, I feel like this is a book that you would enjoy. So those are all of the books that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm pretty satisfied with the ones I got to, even though I didn't really have a lot of high ratings, unfortunately, last month. No 5-star reads. you know, I still had a really good read month, I feel like, and I am excited to see how June goes because currently of this, as I'm recording this, we're a third of the way into the month and I have finished one book so far. So hopefully I have some more stuff to talk to you guys about in my June wrap up, but we'll just see how that goes. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, stay in touch with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.